As I say, I bumped into Chris earlier today, who said, he was going to come up and talk. I don't want to steal any of his thunder, so I'll give you a short answer to that.
Bar getting drunk.
Look at that. Well, go and get him if you see him. Anyway, the truth is, Chris and I, he got in touch with me. He was doing an album of Christmas carols, and he wanted some guitar. So I said, the chance to work with the great Chris Squire, who wouldn't, right? So for 2 weeks I worked like crazy to do the guitar parts for this thing. And then I thought, no, we don't. My manager at the time said, we've got to charge him for that, And I said, no. Actually, let me just say, Chris, would you like to play on something of mine? And he said, yeah, sure. So he's on one or two things. We've done several things together. And, he liked several of the tracks we worked on, and we were talking about doing all sorts of things. It turned into an album, and most of it was done in the living room, my living room, because for various reasons I couldn't access my studio, various legal complications. I know, what a life. But we just had such a relaxed time doing it. It was the most relaxed album I've ever done, and it was so easy working with Chris. It was as if we'd been working together for years, and it was a total thrill. And every idea that each one of us had, and Roger King. Oh, that must be the great man. Is he here? If you are here, Chris, come and help me.
He finds his way to the stage.
Right.
This is all very spinal tap, isn't it? We've learned.
This is coming around the long way. Hey!
Quick photo call, I think. Just taking pictures now, and then we can go back into some questions.
Lady just asked, how did we come to make the Squackett thing? What's your name, darling? What was it?
Laurie.
Laurie.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, to start with, we're the Derek and Clyde of progressive rock.
Do you know Derek and Clyde?
Steve's one of the funniest men I've ever known. Actually, he has this dry sense of humour that always amuses me. And you've got quite a crowd here, Steve. I'm
Likewise, it's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was just saying, how we got to work together. It was started with your Christmas album.
Well, yeah, I was making an album that it took my fancy. For years, I've been thinking about doing taking my favourite Christmas carols from when I was a boy, and kind of doing some of the more obscure ones and a couple of the more well-known ones with a prog rock kind of setting, guitar, bass, drums, and keyboards,
and a choir.
And the choir, yes. And the choir actually I used was actually conducted by Jeremy Jackman, who was Andrew Jackman's brother, and Andrew, who sadly is no longer with us, was also the guy who did all the orchestral arrangements for Fish Out of Water.
Yeah,
so
beautifully.
Yeah,
I thought. Yeah.
Yes, very nice.
That's a great album, isn't it? Fish Out.
So And then,
Why don't you tell us the story about the organ on that? Because I said the organ is really good on that.
the organ on Fish Out of Water, we can divert to that. Yes, it was. It was recorded in St Paul's Cathedral at 2 a.m. in the morning.
At moonlight, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was about 2 a.m. It was a very esoteric experience, and I was sitting there in the middle of the cathedral with my buddy, who was my kind of a tech at the time, and later became his sound man, and with a Revox in the middle of the transept there, and recording my old choir master Barry Rose from when I was a kid, and he was playing the St Paul's Cathedral organ, and of course we weren't even supposed to be there doing it. So, that was a great experience. But getting back to the Swiss Squire album, so at various award dinners, been with Jeff Beck and Brian May, and I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this quirky album with this revival of Christmas carols, and you want to, oh yeah mate, yeah, call me straight away, anytime, I'll be right there. So of course when it actually came to actually calling, and Jeff, oh yeah, I've got problems with my wife. I've got to go on a re-extended honeymoon. Oh, okay, right. And then Brian...
You've never had problems with your wife, Chris, have you?
Which one? And then Brian May was like, oh, I'm studying for my doctorate in spatial anomalies or something. And then of course Jeremy Stacey, who I've worked with before, said to me, have you tried calling Steve Hackett? And I said, oh, I don't really know, I don't know, I met him once in Brazil in the 80s, and I don't really know what he's doing now. And Jeremy said, no, he's very active, he churns out albums quite profusely actually. And he said, you should give him a call. So I rang Steve up, and fortunately he said, yeah, I've got a bit of space in my calendar right now. And I said to him, oh, well, I've got a couple of tracks. I'll send them over, and together with Roger King, who Steve works with very closely, they worked on two of the things in 2 days, and it came back brilliantly. Then of course I said, right, could you do all of the album? Because this is obviously a good idea. And then after that we got to know each other really well, and then of course I had a big debt to him because of all this work he'd done on this Swiss Squire album, and I said, anything I can do for you? He said, well, I've got some demos I've been doing, and could you come and play bass with me? I said, sure. I was living in pretty much the same area of London as Steve, and so it was fairly easy to get together and go to Steve's studio and work on things. And after a while, I was listening to his demos, and I thought, my God, this guy's quite he's coming up with a lot of material here, and I really like it. And I said to him, I really think, this is good, and how about you could add a chorus here? And Steve went, oh yeah, that might be a good idea, and we tried that. And then after a little while, we realized we were actually sort of making an album together, and we both agreed that it would be a good idea to carry on in that direction with Roger's help. So that's how Squackett came about.
Exactly how long the album? Because we worked on the Fish Out of Water reissue.
Yes.
You were talking about working with Steve then, that was November 2006. So it seems to be a long time in terms of doing 2 albums.
It took a while. There were some details that Steve knows about, why the actual coming together of some of the business side of it needed to be delayed. But meanwhile, we had plenty of time to enjoy working together and coming up with ideas and that
in the living room as well. You know,
in the living room,
we spent a lot of time together socially, you know, with our wives, and it was great. You know, it was the easiest album I think I've ever made.
The great thing was, it was critically very, very well received as well.
It was. We received an award from the prog rock people in London at an award ceremony, which I think Roger has. Doesn't he?
Probably, the Anthony Award.
Are you two guys up for answering a few questions from these people here? Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. A hand in the air, please, if you'd like. Okay, since you're nearest. What is your name and who's your question for?
My name is Sergey. I'm from Florida. I would love to hear two songs. It's not included in Genesis Revisited, but the song "A Life Within a Day," which is anthem, and the Golden Age of Steam. My kids delegated me to tape the piece of it. The Golden Age of Steam, your song.
Oh, that one, yeah.
All right.
Are you talking about
the first one we wrote together, of course.
Yeah.
The second one is another one.
Could you play it tomorrow, he said?
The great thing about A Life Within a Day was Steve and Roger gave me this demo of an idea of a couple of riffs and a couple of and the jazzy bit, and I said, yeah, that's really intriguing, and we got together and changed it around a little bit, and then
we wrote face to face, didn't we? We just it was literally a line by a line.
Yeah.
And the three of us were.
And he's the easiest guy I've ever written lyrics with in my life, and mainly because we used to open National Geographic, take the headlines, and then.
God bless National Geographic. That's what we were reading at the time. We were sitting there sipping tea.
Having said that, you're obviously very busy with Genesis Revisited too. You're very busy with Yes. Is there a possibility of you two guys collaborating again then?
I think one day there will be. I mean, it may be
Live show.
the best idea may be that we make another album first down the line, and then we have a couple of albums worth of material, and then we'll see if the space is available then. But I don't know, maybe before then, we don't know, do we really?
All I can say is we had a great time doing it, and it was very, very natural. It felt like we'd been working together for a long time. You know, we didn't. It was the opposite of phase cancellation, wasn't it? We just sort of fed each other, and it was great.
Yeah.
Well, when I spoke to you last year, you said that there was a big interest in you doing some shows as well.
There is. And just to get back to the musical side of it, but one thing that I was sort of naturally impressed with was when we would sing together, and our voices together sounded so good that we ended up really doing most of the lead vocal on the whole album, both singing it at the same time, and it kind of has a great blend and a real organic feel to it. So, you know,
Okay, got a couple of questions, gentlemen here. What is your name and what is your question?
My name is Steve, and I'm really happy to see you guys together. I think it's amazing. Mr. Hackett and also Mr. Squire, I would love to know, what, as a musician, what is on your pedal boards?
his is bigger than mine.
It's nothing to do with size. Yeah, size isn't everything. So I've been told.
Right. Do you want to kick off with your pedal board, or is that a trade secret?
Well, I think well, Steve, I don't know. I think you have a more of an old school way of wiring a pedal board, and mine is much more triggers, and all my effects are kept with my tech guy at the back, and I just tune them in and out. So I don't have signal going to my pedal board, and that's the way I've been working with that since the 80s actually. So but it's not that that's necessarily an improvement, because you know, I don't know, is that the way you do it?
Well, I don't know. I used to have these sort of fixed boards, you know, built by Pete Cornish, you know, who would take the guts out of everything, but you know, that'd be a fixed thing. But what happens these days is, you know, you get there's so many pedals coming out every week. You think, oh, it'd be nice to include that one, wouldn't it? So I don't know if anyone's worked with a Sans amp here. for you guitarists, that's really great. And then again, Mr. Cornish built me a thing. I asked for a treble booster, and he built me a thing called an iron booster. But he's almost retired now, and he doesn't remember what he put in it. So I haven't got a spare. He said, send it to me in the post, and I'll open it up. And I said, it's going to get lost in the post. I'm not going to risk it. So I got the one and only iron boost pedal, and it's an extraordinary thing. A Digitech whammy pedal, which is nice, takes you up the octave. There's a micropulse, some TC stuff. I've got a couple of wah-wahs. I've got a Vox one, but the one we're using is, oh God, what is it? It's a Crybaby, Mr. Hendrix, Crybaby, yeah? Right, yeah. One or two other things, but a compressor, no, I don't think I'm using a compressor on the board at the moment.
Can I just say I'm glad we don't have the drummer here, because we'd be back to size again then as regards our another question, please. We're okay, hang on. I feel like I'm an escapee from prison with these lights. But, okay, that wouldn't be the first time that had happened, actually. Your name and your question.
My name is Robert. Hey guys, as a fan, there's so much musical history that you guys have given us and the feelings that have gone with it. And I was curious, as players, what were those magical moments, if you could just pick one out in your lives, whether it was a live performance or a collaboration or an album or you know, writing or sitting in a room like we were describing, what was the things that just pop out in your mind first?
Good question.
It's a good question, and there are many answers to it from my point of view. I mean, throughout my career and Yes's career, of course, I've had so many great live moments and great studio moments as well, and you know, it's a whole tapestry, man, of richness.
I think that's a very good answer, because you know, you could say one gig was better than another and all that, but it's not really. It's the whole deal. You know, it's just it's a real privilege to be able to make a noise for a living, frankly.
It does, of course, depend on the noise you make.
Didn't catch that.
It does, of course, depend on the noise you make.
Oh, well, of course, yes.
Sweet noise!
Okay, time is running out, so we're going to have to squeeze in maybe two more over here. Hang on a second. What is your name and what is your question, please?
My name is Michael Lyon, and my question is for both gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to say, Chris, very athletic job of hitting those pedals last night.
As I said, my last challenge is to actually book a gig at an earthquake.
That's what the question revolves around. Neither of you have ever played on a stage that moved in so many directions as the one did last night.
It was a very moving show, I hear.
And the question for Steve?
Well, Steve, but you played. You were on the first night.
He had smooth sailing.
Well, I tell you what,
Actually, we left pause when you came on stage.
what was extraordinary about that was we started out with Watch of the Skies, and the sort of Mellotron introduction has always been a favourite of mine. I remember hearing it when we rehearsed it in Italian palace balls. You know, I'd be downstairs. Tony was doing the Mellotron and the whole building shaking. Well, we had something like the same experience the other night. The ship's engine started. At the moment, as if by magic, the Earth was moving. And, you know, there's a song about a spacecraft, and there's this ship moving. It's an extraordinary moment. You're talking about extraordinary memories. That will stay with me forever.
Well, they do say it's not the size of the ship, it's the role of the ocean. That's a musician. The musicians will get that. Okay, another question. Okay, we have a gentleman here. Can I squeeze through here, please? Can you stand up? Just your name and your question, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Leonardo, and my question is there any possibility to have an official CD or DVD of all these fantastic presentations that we are watching here on the cruise? Thank you.
Well, you're likely to...
What is the question?
He says, is it possible to have a DVD of all the performances that are on the cruise?
I don't know.
Are you being bootlegged, I think he's asking. And I think the answer is yes, you probably are being bootlegged.
Probably about 3,000 versions of the very thing that you're after if you befriend everyone on
Yeah,
the ship.
I'm sure if you ask any one of the people in this room, someone somewhere will have a copy of one of the performances.
Check Facebook!
Yes, or join Facebook, and I'm sure you'll find probably even more people with the performance. Okay, I think maybe one more question for you guys. Okay, young lady here. Your name and your question, please.
My name is Hackett, and as an art student, all your albums seem to match perfectly with visual arts. How do you combine them?
Usually with great difficulty.
But Roger Dean's on board, isn't he?
Yeah, I haven't seen Roger. I only just heard he's on this boat. So, it'd be a shame if it all went down.
He's actually...
Went down on the who? Sorry.
I told you he was funny.
It's all his fault.
I think the thing is that everybody's so happy to see you guys not only separately but together. Like for instance here, yes. Can I ask the two of you? I'll start with you, Chris. What's been your take on this? I know we're 3 days in, but when I first heard about this, I thought, because coming from England, we don't kind of do this thing really, do we? What were your thoughts when you decided, okay, we're going to do this on a cruise in the Caribbean?
I thought I'd go to my grave before I ever went on a cruise. But having hopefully weathered the first part of it, and being able to stand up straight at the end of the night, of course there have been other nights when I haven't stood up straight and not been on a cruise.
That's a different story.
But no, I mean we're all here together. Let's have fun, huh?
How about you? What was your thought initially? I remember when we were talking in the...
Well, the last time I was on a cruise was 1957 when my parents and we emigrated to Canada, and that was a fantastic thing for me as a kid. We went across the Atlantic, 5 days, and it was wonderful. But that was the last time I played on a cruise. When I was 7 years old, handing around the cap for my harmonica playing. But yeah, welcome back. It only took how many years? I don't know.
I think this might be slightly better paid though.
Slightly better paid. Yeah.
I take it you didn't like Canada then?
Oh, I loved Canada. My mother was terribly homesick. The moment she hit Vancouver, she said she knew she'd done the wrong thing, and we were back in 4 months.
I'll tell you something. You know what? My mum and dad got pregnant, and they were bound for Vancouver as well.
Really?
But my mum decided that back in 1948, pregnant, I probably shouldn't travel, and she was only a little bit pregnant, but so they cancelled the whole thing. But you do realise we could have been rushed.
My family emigrated to Vancouver in the 50s, and because they went with my great-grandmother, she didn't like it, and they came back, so I could have been born in Canada, so there must be something about Vancouver.
I don't know what it is about Canada that everyone emigrated out there from the family and everyone came back. I was the only one who wanted to stay. As a kid, I hated going back to England, I swear.
Well, having been there recently, I spent 12 hours as a stopover in Montreal, and you have a wonderful country if you've got any Canadians. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, I know Chris has another appointment a little later on this evening. So, Steve, would you like to play another little piece, or are we...
Play a little piece, oh my god.
Yeah.
I'll leave you to it then. All right, Steve.
Both of you.
Chris with yes as the main three
Both
players
of
of the
you.
evening. Chris Squire, Steve Hackett, everybody.
You realise we're coming into Carl Palmer's time, so if I just give you a couple of chords, because you want to see that, don't you? I do. I want to be ourselves going to see a show. Thank you, Chris.
Steve Hackett. Thank you very much. Steve Hackett.